Hello, and welcome to today's yoga of mindful movement with wave and flow. Today we're talking all about the foot and the knee, so focusing on the lower limb and your movement options available with that area of the body. So to start with the foot, probably one of the most underrated areas of the body, somewhere we don't think about very often, but has a huge impact on how we move through the rest of our body throughout our lives, particularly considering it's the one part of our body that touches the ground every day. We need to be mindful about how we move our foot, particularly in a yoga practice. So, starting with the foot, we're going to use my handy dandy illustrative leg here. We're going to talk about the tripod foot in yoga. So that's the heel as one point, the knuckle of the big toe as a secondary point, and the pinky toe knuckle as a third point. So 1, 2, 3. In no particular order, just these 3 points we want to focus on when we bring awareness to our feet. There are various movements available with the foot, including pronation, supination, etc. None of those movements are negative to be able to do. In fact, it's a positive to have that movement in your body. But what we're trying to do in yoga is to stabilize. So we can move in and out of pronation and supination very easily in our practice and maintain balance and an optimal alignment of our muscles. So thinking about that tripod foot, the 3 points on the foot, we want to distribute our balance evenly across those 3 points. So that's something to think about when we're doing yoga poses such as a low lunge. So if we come into a low lunge, we place our heel underneath our knee. We do that for optimal alignment of the muscles, optimal utilization of the strength that they can provide. It is possible to have your heel further in, knee over toes, and also your toes further out. But what we're trying to do is build that optimal use of all your muscles. So with that in mind, in a pose like this, we want to keep the heel underneath the knee. Think about those 3 points on your foot to distribute your weight. And you can push down in those 3 points to help hold you upright. Really helpful cue, especially when we're thinking about doing something like lifting up. So you can tuck your back toes, hold onto your thigh, your hips. If you've got a chair or a block you want to grab onto as well, you can do so. Push down in that tripod foot and lift yourself up. Ooh, welcome those wobbles. Try and keep the back foot reaching back, toes facing forward. The hip that's part of the leg that's back, bring that further forward and maintain that tripod foot. Very helpful in a lunge situation. You may also want to think about this when you transition to something like a warrior two. So that's pivoting from here on the ball of the back foot, lining up the outside edge of the back foot with the outside of the mat, and keeping that front foot facing forward. Here, you want to think about that tripod foot again, maintaining the balance across the 3 points on both feet, equal weight in both feet. That will help you optimally align your muscles, your joints, everything, and build strength in your yoga practice, as well as in daily life. Again, a great thing to think about when you're also standing in line at the queue for the post office, the grocery store, or waiting for the kettle to boil. These are the sort of ways you want to think about our yoga practice and bringing in mindful movement. Now, let's talk about the knee. So, thinking about mindful movement for the knee, that knee is a hinge joint, meaning it wants to move forward and back, primarily along the sagittal plane. It's a nice, simple hinge joint that likes to move in this direction. We can find rotation in our knee, completely possible, and again, not a negative thing, but we want to do so mindfully, particularly in our yoga practice when we're moving from things like squats or lunges and then rotating out into that warrior two position. We we want to try to keep the knee facing the same direction as the toes to allow for that forward and back movement through the knee joint. So, in something like a chair pose in your yoga practice, where your toes are facing forward, your feet can either be together or hip width distance, we want the knees to bend forward over the toes in the same direction. You may find with something like a chair pose, when you bend your knees may want to go out. That will put more weight in the outside edge of the feet and detract from that tripod foot. So if you can maintain that tripod foot, your knees are more likely to go forward. You may find in a squat that your knees want to come together. That can mean that you put more weight into the ball of the toe knuckle, again, ruining or distorting the integrity of that tripod foot. Maintain the tripod foot, encourage your knees to move directly forward and back. That's true in a chair pose, in a squat, in something like a lunge, any sort of movement you're doing that requires you to move your knees, bend your knees in your yoga practice, but also in daily life. So, one to think about for the lower limb.